All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dowell. We're going to continue on with part 4, living through the collapse. Before I actually get started here, I want to do, or let me just say this, I want to say a few things to try to stimulate thought. Because before there's ever going to be any type of change, especially an everlasting change going forth in life, the change has to come from within. It has to come from deep within your heart, because information can be presented to you. Facts can be presented to you. Historical facts can be presented to you. But until you get clear in the matter for your own self, and of course that takes self-autonomy, that takes due diligence. That takes you personally doing your own independent research and then drawing conclusions. And then the biggest step of them all is becoming a doer. I know that none of us, we even want to even think about a catastrophe like this. But you just look at the health of our country. Makes no difference. Social, political, economic, religious. It makes no difference. We are sick as a nation. Everything is going awry. Right is now wrong. Wrong is now right. Up is now down. Down is now up. The rule of law is being transgressed on every single end. And you need to really truly start thinking, and you need to ask yourselves the painful questions that many people are just simply, it's better to just put your mind in some type of utopia, and it's better to just let that utopia just run rather than actually look at the reality of things. Our government, Congress, you need to understand their attitude. If they can avert any type of national uprising or whatever you want to call it, in order to control the population, they're going to do everything that they can. That includes lying to you about the real true facts, especially a situation that is really truly bad. It's too late to prepare for a situation when it's sitting on top of you or right at your doorstep. You heard me earlier mention about mutual assistance groups. Now, in a perfect world, which we know we don't live in, a mutual assistance group is, and I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible. Can you close this door, please? I'm going to try to make this as easy as possible. To get you to understand. A mutual assistance group is you live in an area and you need to have either a neighbor trustworthy, a friend trustworthy, or a family member trustworthy. And of course, notice, that list starts to diminish because you'll have a neighbor that will be more of a friend than a friend would be more of a neighbor, or you have a friend that would actually do you better and is more trustworthy than natural family members. I don't know what it is about natural family members, but for some reason they have it in their mind simply because that there's some type of bloodline connection there that they assume within their hearts. Just watch the function and attitude and mindset that they can say anything they want to say, do you any old kind of way, and never have to actually be a man or woman of their word and live up to their obligations. I mean, I don't know why, but that list diminishes from top to bottom right there. But you need to find someone that if your position gets overrun, you can actually walk 5 miles. And it's sad to say, in this country right here, there's not many people in their 30s and 40s that can actually walk 5 miles. And when you start getting older, you can forget about it. You can forget about it. Can you imagine you being a man and then you would have to actually pick up your wife and actually take her somewhere if she ever gets injured? I mean, if your wife is obese, how are you going to move her? I mean, think about this. If you got a situation where things are really bad, you've got a choice and decision to make. If you are a family and you have wife, children, and yourself, and you have a mob coming after you, or you and that 5 miles, is not walking down the highway road on flat surface. That 5 miles is going through valleys, mountains, depressions. We talking about without being seen. You have to get this through your mindset. This is making moves without being seen by the general public, because you could compromise your position. You heard earlier in the article about this man the whole idea was to avoid sniper fire, because understand, these people, if they kill you, they can take what you have and they don't have to work for it because you've already provided for them. So you're going to have to develop a defensive posture, a defensive mindset, and you're going to have to think tactically. Because this is not 5 miles walking down the road and then thumbing a ride to your neighbor's house. This is actually charting out and beforehand mapping out your course, the way that you would go, and you actually need to walk it. You need to do this quite a few times in the year, and you need to make sure that you assess yourself, because the truth is, some of you will have to die. Some of you will be forced to make painful decisions given a world without rule of law. And it's things we really truly don't want to think about, because we think here in America that this situation can never happen to us. We are a deceived people, and we love it. We are an entertained people, just like the Roman Empire, and we love it. We've lost all the fight. With the exception of a few people that have the spirit of 1776 in them that understands exactly what's going on. We're going to get to this article here. But you need to be able to walk 5 miles, and you need to be able to have enough food there for you and your family to survive, because you don't want to take from the peoples who you are going to, mutually assisting or trusting, and take from them. Because tensions, when they start rising, let me tell you something. The spirit of toleration is very, very low in stressful situations. And there are a lot of things that you yourself, you may think that you will not ever do. It's easy to say when you're not in that situation, but believe you me, I know the depths and the levels that a human being will resort to. And it's an ugly situation. You need to have a situation now. You need to have, to be able to communicate if you can. But if you already have everything mapped out and planned out in case something happens, then guess what? You're good to go. For instance, me, I'm not going nowhere. I'm not bugging out. I'm bugging in because I put a lot of time and effort into our strategic location. And my going out is death. That's what my going out is. Because my people here at Straitway, we understand this very, very, very much so. And then you need to be able to have, a cash. Do you know what a cash is? Pastor Joe Fox gave a cash class here at our last gathering of the saints. And we've had quite a few GOPS, gathering of the saints. And it's our survival instruction. Now, believe you me, it's only, we have a lot of civilians, people who have never even slept outside before, much less on the porch or backyard. And so we scale this way, 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 way down to accommodate these people. and we try to speak to the minds and the conscience of the people to get them to understand something. Mothers, can you keep your baby quiet? I mean, if you have a gang that's coming by your position and you're in the woods and your baby starts crying and the baby starts doing certain things, do you know how to control your child? Because if you don't know how to control your child, that one child could compromise the whole entire little small unit and get you all killed dead. That's the reason why discipline and controlling the youth is very important. They need to be doing what you say and not what they want to do. And most of you cater to these children. And I know what it is. I mean, I've had children. When you chasing your children, you're chastening yourself. And that wicked heart of ours, it gets in the way. But I tell you what, a leader in this type of situation is going to have to make some painful decisions. And I'll leave it at that. Let's go ahead and go with this article right here. But don't think for 1 minute that the food is always going to be running to these grocery stores. It's just not going to happen. Number 4, even if something happens, there are plenty of food and supplies for everyone in my city. Fact or answer? Ever seen towns or cities cut off by winter storms? Have you? Food in supermarkets, food in warehouse stores, and restaurants are extremely limited, perhaps 1 to 7 days at best. To prove this, take your population, where you live, and divide this by the number of grocery stores in your city and town. Go into one of these stores and look around and consider how fast a few hundred or a few thousand people could empty that store. You see all those trucks coming in each day carrying food and supplies for these stores. Imagine those deliveries stopping. Food would disappear faster than anyone can imagine. And remember, some time ago in this article, 1 can of beans was going for $30 to $40. You know, here we have a law. When you go out, you go grocery shopping, you bring a can. You bring a can of something back for the storage. Because 1 can of beans, $30 to $40 in a situation like that, and a lot of people going to die over that 1 can of beans. Number 5, my state government, my community, my neighbors will not abandon me and let me starve. Is that a fact? Well, let's get the answer, all right? It's a pure numbers game. If food and other necessities are not there for the state to distribute, then everyone who has failed to put away for such a disaster will go hungry. Your neighbors are likely to be in the same boat as you if 99% of the people don't prep. Those that did prepare are likely to not share with a bunch of people that choose not to. Taking food from those that did store will not be an easy task, as they will likely be well armed. It is extremely selfish to expect your neighbor to sacrifice their family because you determined that prepping was too much effort. Simply don't be the 99% that don't prepare. And you can forget about it. People are not going to cater to your feelings and your emotions and stuff, and people they're gonna get hard. They're gonna say, "You mean to tell me that you didn't prepare?" You remember the time I tried to tell you all of this, but you looked at me like I was crazy or something like that? No. I think it's the epitome of selfishness for you to expect me to take food out of my family's mouth and put it in your mouth to accommodate us, and then here we are when it's all said and done and it's all gone. Now we're all starving and looking at each other. No, you go ahead and trek on down the road, because you're now going to be suffering for the choices and decisions that you refused to make because you thought that it was never going to come to a doorstep near you. It's sad. Number 6, I have a 3-day food supply. Now that is laughable. The government and others will tell me that this is plenty. Fact or answer? 3 days go by awfully quick. And as we saw in Hurricane Katrina, help took much longer than that to arrive. If it is possible, a bare minimum of 30 days worth of food, water, and other supplies should be considered for all families. In the past, during lightweight shit hit the fan events, help will arrive 1 to 2 weeks after the disaster occurs, such as areas hit by a great earthquake or a mega hurricane. Severe disasters require much longer times for real help to arrive. And don't you ever expect in the scenario that we're talking about for help to arrive, period, at all. You are a fool if you think help is going to arrive. Number 7, I have lots of credit cards. I will purchase anything I need in my city or nearby cities. Fact or answer? First of all, credit is something that only works when systems connected to the outside world function properly. People think that these little magical pieces of plastic will save them in all circumstances. This misconception is something that will flatten those who go out to try to buy food because the banks are not allowing or are simply unable to process any credit or debit cards. Cash is necessary for buying what you need. Have a fair amount in all denominations from 20s to 1s. Additionally, if your backup plan is to drive to another city to purchase emergency supplies, you may not be able to get out of your area due to the lack of fuel or closed roads. You know, it's amazing because, again, I did not read this article in advance. I'm just going along with you, whether you believe me or not. And it's amazing how they're covering all these things that I've spoken to you about earlier. And I hope you have the ears to hear. Again, you have your own supplies before it happens. Number 8, my water faucets will have water, even if it is temporarily shut off. They will not let us go thirsty. Man, I tell you, you know, I understand the line of questions and stuff, but you people, you have a whole lot, you're a whole lot more optimistic about the human nature of government, city officials, elected officials, man, than I do. I mean, I guess my experience causes me to have pause. Anyway, fact or answer. Water pipes that bring water to your home require power. Without power, there is no water. Those expecting water trucks to bring drinking water to their neighbor should not count on it. Those who plan on drinking unsafe water from ponds, lakes, and other catchments. You know, before I say that, how many of you have filtration systems? You know, like what I did some time ago when I showed you in a bug out bag. I've got a particular apparatus right here that would actually filter up to 13,000 gallons of water from any type of water source, and it will be purified. Do you have that? Have you ever even thought about that? Because water systems everywhere is literally going to be contaminated. And don't you trust in your rivers, lakes, and streams and stuff, because when water, municipal water supply, is no longer flowing, the new municipal water supply is going to be rivers, lakes, and streams, and they will be polluted faster than you can ever even think or imagine. All right, let me see where we're at right here. Other catchments or basins are just asking to become very ill. If someone doesn't store much food, at least there should be water stored for drinking. A half a gallon per person per day minimum. Not to forget the household pets either. First of all, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd kill the pets. That's what I would do. I'll shoot the pets. I'm going to eliminate everything that is not necessary for survival. And I know that some of you with your favorite little companion and stuff, and you're going to find out that if many of you don't make the right choices and decisions, that dog you got is going to probably end up being a hot dog on your bun when it comes time for that belly to hit that spine. And it's a sad situation. I keep telling you. Anyway. Water could be down for weeks. Cases of bottled water are one way to store water for long terms and can be neatly stacked in a small corner of your home. Many stores sell safe water storage units that can be filled up with plain tap water. A good water filter is something that all households should have for outside water should city supplies be inoperable or contaminated. Learn how to catch rainwater and do. Hydration is something that will, dehydration, is something that will kill Scores of people, because they have not taken water storage seriously. Without clean water, you're dead in 72 hours. Now, that's just the regular thing. I don't believe that you're going to be dead in 72 hours without drinking water, because yours truly, Pastor Dowell, has been up to 7 days fasting without water. But that's not to say that everybody, but of course I'm also, I also take personal responsibility for my health too. Before I embark on an endeavor like that, I make sure I'm well hydrated, very well hydrated. And even at that, it's a spiritual thing. It's a risk. It is a risk. It's a spiritual thing. And I wouldn't advise everybody to do that. But if you're seeking for a closer walk and a higher walk to the Father, it's going to take you some time to build up to something like that. Don't be a fool and try to go into something like that. But I'm talking about right now for survival means. There's a lot of things you're going to have to think about. And let me say this. Some of you're so hardwired right here. And you are so set. You expect everything in this world to work the way you think that it should. And it's a bad situation. It's a sad situation. Because of decisions and choices that you have either made or have not made, those who are dependent upon you and your selfishness and your lack of wisdom, you're going to cause a lot of people to perish, a lot of people to die, because you're just simply too hard-headed, And it's hard for you to look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you hard-headed? Because you're going to give yourself a pass every single time. But is there someone around you that can look you in the face, and can you handle someone telling the truth of what they see about you? I didn't say you have to accept whatever they say, but if the shoe fit, as the old proverbial saying goes, you should wear it. Sometimes, and that's the reason why, having a spiritual assembly, having spirituality stuff is good, because you're going to be told about yourself. And then once you're told about yourself, the option is left up to you to where you're going to change or not. But some of you are really, truly hard-headed. I mean, hard-headed. Hard as these cinder blocks back here. And you simply can't, I don't know what it is, but you think that the world is coming to an end. You expect the whole world to evolve around you, and it's simply not going to do it. It's just simply not. Anyway, we'll be back at number 5, part 5 of this video right here, and they've changed in this article somewhat the order of things and stuff, but I do think that it's actually edifying to those who want to know. And I'll mark this right here, and we'll pick up at another time. Shalom to each and every last one of you. Have a good day. I hope that the information that's being presented to you is bringing some type of edification, exhortation, and comfort. All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, sisters of YouTube. This is Pastor Dowell. I'm coming to here with part 5 of living through an economic collapse. I do apologize for my tardiness in reference to not being a little bit more prompt on the videos, but life continues to go on, and these videos, they take a little time. And some of course, many of you who follow me, that a lot of the videos that I make, they're usually on the spur of the moment. I just sit down behind the camera, or either I get my iPhone and I just begin to record, and bam, they come just like that. I do, however, before I start going into part 5 right here, I want to speak to you here just for a moment about an experience I had looking at a movie. Now, while we do not have a TV signal, as a matter of fact, I have not had a TV signal in my house. It's got to be, let me see, 94, 14, 20, 21 years. 21 years. Now I do have access to the internet, and there was a time for at least, I don't know, I guess 10 years I didn't even have access to the internet or something like that. So, hey, because I was too busy. I was too busy setting the foundation of Straitway community. But anyway, I do have a Blu-ray player that I hook up to a monitor, and that way I have a controlled environment. I looked at a particular movie last night. And of course, I look at things, when I see things, I have an alternate conscience. It's a whole lot different than what other people may view. Some, I was venture to say the majority of people that are pretty much, the military or veterans or those who are informed. They probably see what I see. I'm going to share some of my thoughts with you. And what I was looking at last night was this right here. Now, most people in this society, when they watch movies, they look at it for entertainment purposes. I don't see anything entertaining about all the movies that are coming out nowadays. As a matter of fact, they're coming out at an extraordinary pace, showing me that we are definitely following the historical tracks of ancient Rome, to where now entertainment is the favorite pastime. You remember in the day that boxing used to be the ultimate fighting source here in America. Most of y'all remember the days of, I remember these days because I remember as a little boy growing up watching these. Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Ken Norton, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis. And I'm talking about fighters. These folks were fighters now. But then all of a sudden up pops mixed martial arts. And it's been around for a long time. But man, I tell you what, it sure has put every other discipline on the back burner. And you know the reason why? Because the same way that ancient Rome used to clamor for blood. And remember, I told you 20-something years ago that these football stadiums are nothing but modern-day coliseums. Oh, I know that people are down there playing a game. But man, how the people stack into those places like sardines. I wonder how much money that they're spending on entertainment, paying these extraordinary fees to the owners of the teams, as well as the players themselves and the coaches. I wonder how much they could have invested in themselves. But they chose to laugh. They chose to scream. They chose to holler. And of course, their head is clearly stuck in the sand and they're not thinking with alternate conscious. Now mixed martial arts is on the scene. And why has it surpassed every other discipline? Simply because there's blood involved. And the crowd craves blood. Well, anyway, while I'm watching this particular movie right here, I said, wow, the powers that be, they're literally just in our face today, aren't they? Literally in our face today. Now, I'm going to tell you what I saw. I saw in that movie what I see today. And most of us, we have been trained and not educated. We have been manipulated, not educated. We do not use independent thought at all. What I saw in this movie right here is the same structure I see today. Let me explain it to you real quick before I go off into this article right here for a second, all right? Or shall I say before I go into this article. And by the way, this is pretty comfortable stuff right here. They didn't have this stuff when I was in the military in the day. It's pretty comfortable stuff right here. But anyway, here's the structure of today. Whether you like it or understand it or not. Let me go this way. Time out. Government is supposed to start right here in the home. This is the grassroots. And government possesses its authority and has its authority starting right here at home. Then it works its way up. Now that up doesn't mean that they're at the top of the scale. That means they're at the down, on the bottom of the scale. That's the way it should be. And that's the way, because the man, he is the king of his home, king of his castle. Government starts there, and then it starts going off into the independent parishes, counties, and the state, then the federal government. All right? But the way we have it today, which is a very communist and fascist system, government is having its rule and authority over the people. See, the truth is, we the people are the masters of the government. But you look at the posture and you watch continually over and over again and ask yourself, do these police officers consider themselves public servants? Just the other day, I watched a video. Utterly amazing. I watched a video. And you know what I saw? And you can see him over and over again. I saw a man get pulled over, I believe it was in South Carolina, and literally got shot for following orders. Listen to what I said. The police, he pulls up at the gas station. He has his door open. All of a sudden, there's a police car behind, lights blaring and stuff. And the police says, let me see your license. Go and get your license or something like that. And you know what happens? He reaches in to get his license. The police lose his mind. The officer did. And just literally, he's a poor ass shot too. And literally just turn around and start shooting this man. Pow, 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 pow. Needless to say, I think in this instance right here, they terminated the officer. But myself personally, I think that he should be put in front of a firing squad. That's what I personally think. But hey, that's my personal opinion though. Because I guarantee you, if people start paying for these injustices and we start making examples out of the people who are determined to where they want to claim ignorance or fear or whatever it may be, I guarantee you it would deter all these injustices that are perpetuated upon the people, no matter who it may be. Somebody kills somebody, you kill them, that I guarantee you it will send a message all across this country, and we will get the commandment, you shall not murder. But anyway, and then this cop turns around and the guy say, I'm sorry. I don't know what he's sorry about, but I'm telling you, when I see something like this, I'm telling you, it causes me to think even more. I have to really, truly be careful. Like I said, a simple routine traffic stop could be the day that you die. And like I said, 99% of the time, they're going to twist, warp, lie, and distort. And they're going to be acquitted of all charges. The family's just going to be left suffering. And chances are, there's going to be no one in the home. And of course, the YouTube is full of this stuff. But we really, truly have got to start protecting ourselves from the government. Because they have literally just gone mad. They've got a doctrine out there. It's not, they say shoot to stop. It ain't, yeah, shoot to stop. And the way we stop you is we kill you. And that's how we stop. That way is only one story told. Man, I tell you, it's bad. But anyway, back to this movie here for a second. Let me get to this movie right here. This is what I saw in this movie is what I see today. We have a communist fascist government. All right. And this government is set up. And this man said in there, I forget who his name was, but this man said in there, he was the I guess the president or prime minister, whoever he may be. But this is what he said. He said, we have a system in place. And anytime this system is compromised, then it throws everything awry. I'm paraphrasing, okay? And the system is this. You are the workers. You supply food to us, and we keep order for you. This is the way it's designed to work. Now ask yourself a question. Is that not what's taking place today? W-2, second class wage earner. How many of you get pissed as hell? Every single thing you do in your life, you are literally taxed. The government sits by and does nothing and collects taxes. For instance, some of you may work a job and you may get a bonus. All right? Your bonus is getting ready to be taxed 30 to 35% in the government. They'll get it before it ever hits your hand. And what did they do to deserve it besides exist to tax you? To tax you, that's all they did. Your paycheck. They don't trust you to pay your taxes. They take your taxes out of the check before you even get it. And the businesses are set up like that. Even if you want to do, that's what they're trying to do now. You know, this legal tender cash is supposed to be legal tender for all debts, public and private. But they even want taxes off of transactions that take place between you and another individual who contract. They even want that too. I mean, these bloodthirsty parasites, they get in on everything. And they wonder why. Everybody wonders why the people are always looking for a way around, trying to not give these coffers more than what they're already taking anyway. And you know what they do? They have everything backed up by guns and jail sentences. Think about that. Tax evasion. Look how many people that have literally been thrown in jail in this country for tax evasion. And you ask yourself if our country is not guilty of tax evasion itself. It's a sad situation. So we are the workers. They are the ones who provide security, they say. And that's what this terrorist stuff, I told you in 9/11, it was an inside job, period. And I told you clearly that it was controlled demolition. Way back then when I was on shortwave radio, I told the people my own personal opinion because I do think my experience matters just a little bit. Now, people are waking up, which I'm glad that they are. But man, I tell you what, these people are utterly amazing. We the workers, they provide security, that's what they say, and then we have peace. But it's just like America right here. Like America was literally built off cotton. And it wasn't you white folks out there in them fields picking that cotton. It was the black folks that was in that field picking that cotton. And look, by guns. They wasn't, you know, their labor was enforced by guns. Same thing today, just a different way. Now all of America is enslaved. So you have the poor and the rich. The middle class is all but decimated. And they are controlling and ruling. And they are posturing themselves, positioning themselves for a total takeover called the New World Order. But this is their attitude. And they are unyielding. This man in this movie right here, the government's position is we can only have peace when you do what we say. Well, that's what the government thinks. But we have the understanding we can only have peace when government does what we say. Now you ask yourself a question. Is this a government of the people, for the people, and by the people? I'll answer that question for you. Hell no. Hell no. I can govern my own self. I promise you that. And I'm doing it. But it's a sad situation. So in this movie is the blueprint of the thought pattern of the powers that be and how that they are doing with us even today. And they are going to stamp out all residue and all resistance. And so you have people like me that have a voice and we exercise our right. And we start to go out there and start speaking. And the first thing they do is put us on a blacklist, a government watch list. Because they don't want all you people informed. You know, when they have modified your behavior through GMOs, when they have modified your health, chemical trails, pesticides, herbicides, you have mercury in your mouth, fluoride, you're inducing on a daily basis through the municipal water supply. They're poisoning us. Most people can't think right. What they want is a society of yes and drooling, bumbling idiots. And they just about all but got it complete. I sit and watch the people, war back and forth with each other. And the psychology that the government uses is working. It is working on a grand scale. Every time I turn around, you can go on YouTube and you can see the racial discord. It's utterly amazing. I'm like, man, these people cannot see what's going on. They literally can't see what's going on. They're fighting the wrong people. But man, these people are masters manipulators, ain't they? That's what's going on in that movie. The government position is they can't have peace unless we do things their way. And so, whether you like it or not, whoever you get paid by is who, check this out, watch a second, is who you represent. Think about this. The school teachers, who they get paid by? Everybody say, well, everybody gets paid by the taxpayers. I told you, government, they cannot produce anything. They can only take. And that's what they're doing. They're taking from us. But the high school, the junior high and the high school curriculum is all sanctioned by who? The federal government. The police department, who they get paid by? Local and federal government. The FBI, the CIA, all these different alphabet soup organizations, who they get paid by? Local, state government, all forms of government. Federal government. Think about this. Do you think for 1 minute these people who are on the payroll, the military, who they get paid by? Federal government, federal citizen. Most of you, there's a lot of people, listen, now, these people have in mind, they are a federal citizen. That is totally different than a citizen of America. A total different mindset. These people are federal. I'm not going to go in that. I hadn't even started the article. And I'm trying to stimulate thought to get you to understand what's going on. But you think about that for a moment. These people on the payroll, so who do you think they're going to represent? That's kind of like these politicians. Whatever money that they receive from the state that they represent, it pales in comparison to all these backroom deals and all these campaign contributions that is constantly hidden by corporations. Can you imagine that a president will spend upwards to $50 to $100 million just to get elected in this society? Is that the democratic process? Whew. And they keep cramming democracy, 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 democracy. Well, I thought, according to these documents right here, that we're a constitutional republic. News media, democracy. Local state, democracy. Everybody around the world keeps hollering democracy. We're supposed to be a constitutional republic, and I know many of you don't even understand what that means. Oh, it's crazy. The dumbing down is all but complete. I'm sure you get what I'm saying. But I see things from an alternate paradigm. I promise you, an alternate conscious, function after alternate conscious. I saw a people resisting the government. And they wanted to fend, be at peace, and live without tyranny. But the government has a total different attitude. You see, they can't function unless we the people are working and contributing to them. This is the age-old war. People just simply want to be free. I'm sorry it took so long, but I'm only going to be able to cover a few points in here because this video is already long enough, and I'm sure that many of you appreciate my commentary. Think about that. Let's go back a few videos. You remember a few videos ago that the man said that 1 can of beans was going in upwards of $30. How many of you are really taking this to heart? How many of you have went out and every single time you went out and you've come back home, you bought at least 1 can of beans or 1 can of or bought some lentils or a big can? How many of you are taking heed to this stuff? Has it sobered you up? Has it helped you out at all? I mean, have any of you went and decided, hey, you know what? I think I better get some of this right here because this is going to happen. This is the people's money during an economic collapse. You see, gold is a storage of wealth, but silver is the people's money. And silver is what's in the Constitution, as well as the Bible. You know, 5,000-year-old documents. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and read a few points here. There's no room to store supplies that will never be used anyway. That's point 9 right here. Fact and answer. Vertical storage is one way. Even very limited amount of space can be used to put away that someone needs. There are all sorts of dead spaces around the home, under the bed, closet, shelves, your garage, a couple of ideas. Square footage of a home is two-dimensional, as there is usually about 8 feet of space up and down between ceiling and floor. Even people living in tiny apartments find room to store up emergency needs. Yeah, I mean, just don't think just on the ground. Think about all this airspace. Even here, when we are growing food here at Straitway, I try to use the air in the greenhouse because that's also space where food can be grown. Do I have to make modifications and stuff to the greenhouse and do things a little bit different? Sure I do. Yes, I do. But I'm trying to use and maximize all the space that we have. This year, we're going to put more raised beds and do more canning than we've ever had before. Why? Because I'm not interested in a green lawn. I'm not trying to keep up with the Joneses and trying to make my lawn look like the Masters down in Augusta, Georgia. I'm not concerned about my homestead looking like a golf course. Damn it, to me, that's just more grass I got to cut. Now, I can put the grass on the compost pile to use later on in the garden if that's going to be effective, but I'm trying to put places for food, not trying to look good for nobody and spend money on a bunch of wasteful attitudes and things. It just don't make sense. Anyway, point 10. I can't rotate supplies. Everything will get old and have to be thrown away. Fact or answer? Many items can be consumed way past the best buy dates. Those that feel that they still can't store up items even in cans because of some used by the best buy date can store up a lot of other items that don't have to be rotated. There are everyday items that can be forgotten about and will be just as good as when you first stored it. Sounds crazy. Let me stop right here. Now, if you go back in my videos, I talked about oxygen absorbers and Mylar bags many, many years ago and stuff. And I can tell you right now, we've got stuff stored years and stuff. And when you store it right, you use oxygen absorbers and Mylar bags and stuff. You open that stuff up, it's like, man, you just put it in there. But you have to know what you're doing. Go back and get educated. I got videos up on this, all right? But there are items that can fetch a higher barter value that people need and want. Toilet paper is one key supply that can be traded for food and other items because it will never lose its demand. Well, I agree with that in part right there, but what you need to do is start trying to think about some type of cloth or clothing. Now remember, we know that the municipal water supply is going to be tore up, all right? We know that the creeks and the rivers is going to be contaminated. My suggestion is you get a homestead and you modify that home, or you get some deep wells. Either you can put a can down in the well or a hand pump, a manual hand pump. And my suggestion is that, yes, you have toilet paper, but you also try to use something like T-shirts and cloths or something like that because you're going to use the bathroom, all right? But that you can continually keep washing and then use and reuse and reuse. And then if all that doesn't fail, you got leaves. Anyway. All right. And then, on top of that, you ain't got to worry about how you're going to use the bathroom because sometimes toilet facilities may not be available. But there's always trees. You know what you can do? You can just stand up and prop your butt up against the back of a tree. You can sit like this and use the bathroom, be just fine. Take a shovel and cover it up. Anyway, toilet paper is one key supply that can be traded for food and other items because it will never lose its demand. Other bottom items such as cigarettes and alcohol have extreme value just about everywhere. It would be wise to always store up what you eat each day in cans, as canned foods have a very long shelf life, so long as they are kept dry, cool, and undamaged. Well, I would tell you one thing, you can use it because people are going to smoke cigarettes or something like that. They'll smoke anything nowadays. But when you think about storing alcohol, think about vodka, for instance. Vodka is one of those drinks that people love drinking. They love drinking and stuff, but it's also a good antiseptic. It really, truly is. So go out there and buy a whole bunch of cheap vodka. And the reason why people become alcoholics and think about alcohol because, the stress and the pressure of everything is on them. And people they're humans. They're always going to be looking for a way of escape or some form of comfort. And people just consume alcohol up to 10 and 20 times the amount that they normally would, but simply because they can't cope with the situation. Sorry it took a little bit long and only got a few points done within this video right here. I'll do one more point, okay? Because I want to try to keep them under 30 minutes, and I'm well at 26 minutes right now, okay? Let's go one more point here. I don't have extra money to store up anything for disasters. Fact or answers? There are many coupons online, in newspapers and in stores. Manufacturers want to attract new customers to their products so badly that they often offer food for free or near free. People live on coupons with very limited money sources using coupons. Stores also offer reduced pricing on overstock items. Collecting these supplies will add up if one is willing to start doing so. Never pass up an opportunity to get something for free, especially if it can be stored for later use or barter. Well, you know what? I remember yours truly, Pastor Dowell. I used to go dumpster diving. I used to go behind some of these stores and stuff, and they would throw out all these expired canned goods and everything else. I used to go in a dumpster and get the canned goods and load them up in my little pickup truck and take them home. And somebody said, well, why in the world did you do that? Because, man, you don't believe the good stuff you find in dumpsters. But some of you, you're too prideful. And that's the part of, that's one great downfall of many of you people out there. You are too prideful. I've seen people come here at the community, and you could see it in their eyes, in their spirit right here. There was some jobs that they are just simply too prideful to do. Not one brother that lives on this land in Straitway, there's no job that we're too prideful to do. Pastor Dowell, even still to this day, I shovel chicken manure out of the coop. I shovel cow manure from the field. Yeah, can you believe that? Yes, sir. Clean the chicken coop. Yeah, along with the brother, Pastor Dowell. Can you believe that? That Pastor Dowell would actually stoop so low. I never to actually get out there in the chicken coop and shovel some chicken shit. Oh, God of mercy. Oh, God. Most of you can't ever imagine that. Yeah, Pastor Dowell butchers deer, butchers turkey, butchers cows. What? Most of you don't even have a skill set to even know what to do. It's a sad thing to even survive if you had to, because your survival depends upon the system that you trust in, which is going to be your downfall. Go back and look at my archives. I even show you something. You know, I should have this year actually gone through great details, but there's plenty on YouTube to show you how to butcher an animal. Pastor Dowell even fishes. Now, everything that I do, the people here on the community do as well. Women, children, brother, they all do it. It's part of our lifestyle. Yeah, Pastor Dowell actually dig holes with shovels, post hole diggers. Most of you don't even know what a post hole digger is. Use come along. Most of you, do you know what a come along is? Never mind. Oh, mercy. I mean, there's just so many things. My. Man, you ain't never had no dirt under your fingernails. You're just simply too prideful. You got to get past that consciousness. I don't know if you can be helped, some of you. But those that do, you will thank the day that you heard this voice. We'll be back with part 6, and hopefully I won't be so long-winded about commentary. Most people seem to enjoy my commentary more so than the article right here. But I promise you, next video, we will actually do more with the article and then provide commentary. I want you all to be encouraged, okay? See you in part 6. All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dowell. Hey, I am excited that people really, truly are enjoying this series, and that some way, somehow, if there was areas in your life that you probably never even considered, that this is helping a lot of you. I do appreciate your comments, whether they be pro or con. The ideal here is to communicate. The ideal here is to stimulate thought. I'm not trying to win anybody. All I am is a presenter of information. I can't do that. You know, it's up to you. You're the one that's gonna have to exercise independent thinking. So, but with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and jump off in this article, and we're gonna get back on the collapse. And this is part 6. All right, here we are. We're dealing with points right here. Okay. Number 12. Is it too much work to bother with? Fact or answer? Even a person that is hardly an expert prepper who has stored up something will fare far better than 99% that have not. Simply picking up extra food and other supplies at the market each time and putting those into boxes in some isolated part of the home will add significant reserve supplies. This is very This is very limited effort that will reap huge results. Win, and it's a big capital win. Win, you need it. You don't have to work that hard to put away a decent amount of what you need or what you will need someday. Hey, I have a law that works around here in the community, and of course, human. The human spirit always enters in, and it always default back to its last reset point. That's the reason why it's important that you spend time educating yourself, because until you are convicted, until you are clear, until you are personally accept this truth and understand it, you won't do anything. Even if you slip and you personally accept this truth, you will still continue to do what you know is right. And most of us have not had a reset, period, whatsoever at all. We hear this, we get excited, and then we default back to our old nature and stuff. I have a law that any time that you go out, and especially if you go inside a grocery store, buy a big can for the community, and then buy a few cans, small cans for the home. And when you have too many of those, put it inside a community storage, because food is going to be something else. But now listen to me. You cannot survive just on beans and rice and stuff like that in canned goods. You're going to need other sources that contain a good mineral called salt in it in order to sustain yourself. Because if you give human beings, so you listen to me very closely, all right? If you give human beings, while their belly is full, if you give them beans 2 meals a day, 7 days a week, you're going to have morality problems. Because whether we like it, understand it or not, food plays a and it is very significant in our morale. If you sit down to a good meal and you enjoy that meal, it affects your day. And it affects your outcome and look on life. You sit down to a bad meal, you have to discern yourself. It's there to challenge your present character and nature. And you need to know this. Like I said, I'm here to present information. I'm here to present facts to you that most of you have never even entertained before in your life or never had the opportunity. And I can only hope that you just do not use this as some sounding board, but that you actually take action. Again, I can present all this information, but until you get clear and until you understand your own heart, until you educate yourself, it will mean nothing to you. You must become proactive. Let's go on to let's go on to 13, excuse me. I have absolutely no idea what to store, how much. Fact or answer? Well, what do you use each day and every week? This is what you want to store up. Buy your regular household staples in jars, bottles, or well-sealed packages for long-term storage. How much can be determined simply by asking yourself, how long do I want to be self-sufficient during a disaster? Have a time frame, a month, 2 months, etc., and you should be able to easily determine how much of something you will use in a certain amount of time. And that is true. Let me give you an example. All right, the ideal is to have good protein, and one of the best protein sources that you can get is lentils. Lentils are a whole lot better than beans. They're loaded with good proteins. Now think about this. While they get small beans, you can actually allow your body to achieve some form of satisfaction for a longer period of time. Because in our mind, our body has things that we communicate. Think about it for a second. All right. If you're sitting around and you're not active whatsoever at all, what are you prone to do? I'm gonna tell you exactly what you're prone to do. You're prone to get up, and those receptors start firing in your mind, and the first thing it does, it looks for sugar, and sugar is a poison. And you start going through the cabinets or wherever you put that last candy bar or that chocolate or whatever it is. That's bad for you. That's the first thing you look for. You don't look for a can of sardines. You don't look for going into the freezer if you have it in there and try to get some salmon out of there. or fish, and then go through the painstaking task of cooking. You're looking for something to give you satisfaction right then and there. Only one problem though: when you get finished eating it, all it's going to do is make you more hungry. It's going to kill your appetite for that which is good and that will sustain you, and you're going to look for that which is bad. And if you don't have any water on hand to help quell that appetite, you're really in trouble. And remember what I said before. It is one thing to drink in upwards, even now, a gallon of water a day, but you really truly need to actually start supplementing that water with some type of like a sea salt, a Himalayan sea salt or something like that, so that you can stay hydrated. And I really need to push that more. But if you just eat only beans, you're going to have problems on your hand, especially if you have a multitude of people around, 4 or 5 people. People who do not have self-control is prone to murmuring and complaining. And anytime you have a murmurer and a complainer, or someone who champions themselves to be this kind of worker, and they're really truly not, it's going to start bringing challenges in. And our spirits, when somebody starts murmuring, especially if you're not a person of solution, it's there to actually start a rebellion in the camp. And the last thing you need is insurrection in the camp. Rebellion, it must quickly be stamped out. I mean quickly, because if not, it's going to cause those who will lead us a lot of trouble. And that's why spirituality is so important, because at least some form of discipline of spirituality. Of course, I believe I'm in the way. I'm a Hebrew. And I speak often about this warfare that we're in and being aware of it. Then that way you can understand your thoughts and your emotions and your feelings. And whenever these challenges arise, at least there's the word that can help you stop these impulses and help you to not cause a bad environment. Because whether we like it or not, it is so easy to murmur. It is so easy to complain. That is easy. It's so easy when you're lazy and you're not doing nothing to sit down and eat and spread. And this will bring a very bad environment. And it was going to cause a lot of trouble and problems. And leaders, you need to know that. But if you keep the people active, even during a crisis, if you keep them active and stuff, and I know because of just simply being a worker all my life. The brethren around here, we work. We work and we eat meals twice a day here on the community, and we're not interested in stopping and taking our lunch or break. We don't take lunch breaks and stuff like that. We may work and then they may sit down a few minutes, get back up and do it again. But it's amazing how work quells the appetite. It really truly does. That's the reason why I'm big on moving. And it's obvious when you see people, you look at their silhouette. It's obvious, and you can tell the people who really truly do not move much. There's something about the inherent nature of man that people are literally wise, and they would deal with you wisely. They are wise to do evil, or in other words, they are wise to know how to get out of work, all types of excuses to circumvent work. There's even a spirit in man that rather than trying to learn to do things the right way, they will create an environment of non-caring, bad attitude. And what they would do is they would drag jobs down, or they would mess up stuff because they're not attentive. And then what that does is challenges the leader because of what you want them away from you before they tear up something else. And it's really working to the detriment of the whole. It really truly is. And that's the reason why, here at Straitway, we are very careful who we allow to become part of us. Even if you're outside of the conus of Straitway right here and you are scattered like the flock is all across the United States and parts of the world, you make yourself known, we're still very careful with you until we know you. Because, see, we are tested and we are proven and we are tried. The jury's not out deliberating with us. We've already made the sacrifice and we live it on a daily basis. And been doing it close to 2 decades. The jury is out on you you, the people right here who have never, ever, ever lived in an environment to where you're constantly around other humans. And your will and your selfishness must be killed. The better and the good for the whole, which you will benefit from, has to be in play. It's not about you. It's not about you. And then the last thing you need is those who fancy themselves to be some type of leader, and then they push to get in leadership position, and they're not qualified, nor are they ready. Because the leaders are the ones who are going to be the ones to determine who is qualified, not you, just because you're inflated in your mind and you believe yourself to be something. Most of you have character flaws and that you don't see. You're blinded to them. And leaders can see those things, and they're not about to set up and put somebody up in a position of leadership or in a supervisory capacity and in order to be in front of the people, and they're trying to keep unity and stuff when you have division in your heart, division in your speech, you're contrary to the mission, you have your own agenda. Because, I mean, after all, this is not about the leader, it's not about the people, it's not about all these people who vainly puffed up. This is about the survival of the whole. And more than anything, it's about those children. It really truly is about those children, because they have to be trained in the proper way, because one day, Pastor Dowell is going to be old. And it's going to be the value system that they've learned from this community. And it's going to be the value system that they've learned from us. And our examples of watching us is going to determine how we, as when we get older, how we're going to fare based on the wisdom that we put in them. And we need some very educated people, I promise you. And you need to start thinking about that. And that's the reason why I'm very careful how I treat the older people, the gray-headed people. Some of them may not think that I am, but I am very careful. I'm not going to cater to their every little whim. I'm not going to cater to their every little complaint and things that they try to hide under the radar, because some of them have never lived a life of discipline and have no idea what discipline is. But I am going to do everything I can to help them. And sometimes that help they may not consider as help, but I will make the best decision for many of them who are a part of us. Anyway, I don't need any protection after a disaster. The police, National Guard, and military will protect us. Oh boy. Fact or answer. Even those that don't like firearms should consider owning one. The larger the distance between an attacker and your family, the less chance that someone you love will get injured or killed. Let me stop right there just for a second. Many of us, we carry firearms. We carry a pistol, but a pistol is not our primary weapon. This is the primary weapon. This is the reach out and touch, and this is the keep you away from us weapon, simply because a rifle, you can keep your enemy at bay for a longer period of time. And not only that, it's more lethal and more powerful than a pistol is. A pistol is there for close quarters, but let me give you an example. Let's say, sometime I carry my rifle in my vehicle, and I probably shouldn't offer that information, but nevertheless, I'm legal after the system, so I don't worry about too much. Because if you know the laws, even of the land and stuff, you have nothing to worry about. But anyway, your pistol, if you ever find yourself engaged in some type of hostile altercation, and it makes no difference who or what it may be or whatever it is, your pistol is only there. It's just a firearm for you to fight, pow, 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 to get back to this. You need to have this primarily in your heart and mind. I mean, you can hold 20 and 30 rounds in this thing. You can only hold like 8 to 15 rounds in a pistol. But you'll be a lot more accurate with this. You have more self-control, and you have a little bit more room for variance and stuff as far as accuracy. But accuracy and reliability and stuff, hey, this right here, I'm telling you. Remember, your pistol is just a defense mechanism for you to fight to get to this. Do y'all understand? I'm trying. Okay. All right. There are some real psychos out there that will certainly take advantage of the lawlessness that come with no police or military force. How many police does your city have per citizens? This ratio is one golden reason to have self-protection before, during, and after a disaster. There may be no way of reaching law enforcement, even if there are available after the true disaster, as well as cell towers and phone lines may be fried for whatever reason. First of all, you need to understand the true nature of the police force. And I have some bad news for you people out there. The police force or law enforcement, they are not designed to protect you. I know that you are under an illusion. I know you are. Think about this. 99% of the time, police get to the crime scene. The crime is already done. They are not going to be there when someone wants to do you evil or take advantage of you or perpetuate injustices on you. They're not going to be there. Personal defense, self-defense is solely up to you. It is your own personal responsibility. Many of you are so deceived, you're going to pick up the phone and dial 911 and you're going to be dying waiting for the police to come. And in an environment like this, a situation like this, you can forget about it. You have become the sheriff, you have become the judge, you have become the jury and the executioner when it comes to defending yourself, your family, and your home front. And my advice is that you start spending some time learning how to be very familiar with not only just a pistol and a rifle. You need to have a multitude of experiences on different firearms, because you just never know what type of environment you find yourself in. And you women out there, when you have a world without rule of law, there are lawless people out here. And I mean, you think about it. Let's just look at a major city. A major city will spend $400 million a year. $400 million a year just to try to deter crime and those who are lawless and those who don't want to be civil in a civilized environment. Have you ever thought about that for a reason? And you thought about that. And these lawless people, rather than dealing with them justly and wisely, this broke system that we have gives them three squares and a cot. So therefore, it does not deter any rebellion whatsoever at all. Now contrast that to a world without rule of law. Are you going to think about housing someone that wants to come and rape your wife? Because you're going to get a mob of about 4 or 5 guys together who have no spirituality, no conviction, and don't care about anything. And you know what they're going to do? I'm going to tell you exactly what they're going to do. If you are by yourself, and let's say you have a wife, and you have 2 teenage daughters and a smaller son, they're going to look at that as an opportunity to overrun you. And the first thing they're going to do is kill you, because they know that their resistance coming from the female side of this is going to be little to none. So they're going to kill you, and they're going to make sex slaves out of your wife and your daughters. And they're going to kill the boy, unless they're perverts today and they're boy lovers. They probably take the boy nowadays over your wife and over the girls. I mean, it's just a type of sick environment that we live in today. There's pedophiles out there. You need to teach your wives. You need to teach your daughters how to protect and how to defend themselves in all type of situations and environments. And I know that sometimes we get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life and stuff, but I tell you what, it really truly is almost good. And I need to really put it in my heart even more so, even though we have so much going on. But I really truly need to spend more time pouring more wisdom and more knowledge at least once a week, even if it's only for 30 to 40 minutes. I remember some time ago, I was trying my best to get the saints ready in the dining hall. You know, I'm trying my best to get their mind changed. Now, mind you, I can present information to you, but I cannot change your mind. I come into the dining hall and I spent 2 hours preaching and teaching the importance of, if you see someone with a knife, holler gun. If you see someone with a sword, holler gun. If you see someone with a hatchet, holler gun. And then those who we have designated to be able to eliminate the threat, let them do their job and hope. And you only can hope that these men are disciplined enough that they don't get excited, overexcited, and get into some type of crossfire and start killing all the good people. Oh, mercy. That's why you have to practice until it becomes nature. And when you practice until it becomes nature and stuff, then you'll up your ability to be able to respond quicker and faster, and you will not shoot the good guy. You'll shoot the bad guy. And even if they have a gun, even in the tabernacle, you know, somebody is some type of threat, holler gun. Why? And then I teach them, first thing you do, women and children, get down. And while women and children are down, those women who are carrying firearms, they are, guess what? They're putting themselves in a ready position and they're looking around. And we already have people designated to be able to take care and eliminate a threat if it becomes very hostile after we give a couple of warnings. And we only give one warning, and that's it. And so I spent all this time, I went through a drill, I showed them and stuff, and I know that for the time being, while we're sitting there, they meant well. I gave it a few months later. I came in the dining hall, I hollered, "Gone!" real loud and stuff. And you know what people did? They sit and looked at me. Some of them out there, they figured out what I was stating to them, it triggered. Oh, let me get down on the ground. Do you think that the perpetuator of evil is going to sit there and leave you sitting up in their seat? They're going to try to eliminate everybody that they can. But I was like, man, this is, you know, when I was in the military, I was a paratrooper, okay? And by the time you had got to the level of discipline, the type of unit that I was in, and make no mistake about it, there's a difference between regular Army soldiers, people who didn't field artillery, and just regular Army. You know, there's a difference between those regular Army, regular Marines, regular Navy, or whatever you want to call it, as opposed to those who have special skill identifiers, because, you know, they live, they breathe, they train this stuff daily. I mean, there's something always in a training schedule to train. So there's a difference between those who in Delta Force, Special Forces, U.S. Army paratroopers, i.e. the 82nd Airborne Division, Joint Readiness Training Center. They really, truly are trained Op 4s because they do this stuff all of the time. Navy SEALs, Force Recon, snipers, Rangers, snappers. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on. These people only possess less than 2% of the armed forces. That's not much. That is not much at all. And those are different qualities of soldiers, different qualities of soldier. And I have this task that then these civilians, they just simply, they don't think like disciplined soldiers. They simply don't. And I realize this. And it's just it's a bad situation. It really, truly, it's a very sad situation. A soldier, he thinks a little bit different. And I'm not telling you that soldiers are better, but for instance, somebody like myself, somebody like especially Pastor Fox, I'm going to give you a difference. If we get shot somewhere, we're not just going to roll over and lay down on the ground. We're going to fight to our dying breath. The only way that we're going to roll over is if we get shot in the heart or something like that and we literally can't move. But if we can move, I promise you, as long as we're moving, we have breath in our body, we will fight to the dying breath. If a civilian gets shot, pow, they're going to fall down on the ground. Oh. Some of you trip and fall. You finished. Oh. Some of you trip and fall. Oh, I can't move. And you want everybody to come run to your position. Oh, mercy. Again, there are soldiers right now scattered all across this land. You forget about mainstream news media who is deceiving you, ain't telling you nothing. But there are soldiers. That's the reason why our government hates veterans so much, because after all, they are the ones who trained us. And it's up to us to keep up our heightened sense of awareness. And so that's the reason why they want to, classify veterans as psychopaths, people who have been inside these war zones and stuff like that. And I had somebody tell me, a civilian told me this one time. They said, you the type of person that only needs to be bought out in time of war. We should actually put you in a box and says break the glass only in time of war. I'm not going to tell you what I said to him because I'm sure children are watching this. But it's a sad situation. It really, 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 truly is. And you look at Obama. He promised in his first term of office right here that he was going to develop a civilian military. And most of us like, man, where are they going to do that? Well, look at your local sheriff's department and local police department. I mean, the SWAT team is out there. They already suited and booted. Now everybody's commandos. Now everybody is dressed in military garb and force. Do you think them people are dressing up for terrorists or they're dressing up for us? Because the American citizens, we are the ones that is experiencing tyranny and terrorists at the hands of so-called, quote-unquote, law enforcement. Again, the best tool is education. And that's not going to get a degree or going into one of their classes. It's self-education. You need to find a very informed veteran and let him teach you. And then not only when they teach you, you start practicing this stuff yourself. And you get this stuff in your heart and you believe it. You'll believe it. Now, I know when you believe the doctrine when you start doing it. And then I'm not saying that, you have to have a special skill identifier. You got to be a nutcase like me, jumping out of airplanes, rappelling out of helicopters and all kind of other crazy junk and all that other stuff. I'm not saying you have to do that. What I'm saying is you need to discipline yourself. I mean, Elder Doug, a very disciplined and sound mind man. He could have easily went into the military and been a very damn good soldier. But his mind, the way it functions, he's right there. He's right there with myself and Pastor Fox. He's right there. And Pastor Fox would be the one that would be someone that could teach you even onto a greater level of capacity than I could. But Elder Doug is right there. He just has that soberness, that soundness, that discipline, and that sensitivity about him. Every brother don't have that in his ministry. I have some hard-headed people in his ministry. I've told people stuff once, twice, 3, 4, 5, and they still don't get it. You know the reason why? Because the threat of the situation and heat is not on the ass, so therefore they fall into this dissidence. You know what I mean? It's called cognitive dissidence and normacy bias. And I'm gonna leave all that alone for right now. Go back in the videos. Oh mercy, man! I went off again on commentary, didn't I? I tell you what, we'll come back part 7, another 30-minute video. I'm just trying my best to do whatever I can to present real, true information so that you do not die because of your own stupidity, ignorance, and lack of self-control. Y'all be encouraged. We'll be back here with part 7 here. I don't know when, but anyway, I hope y'all enjoy these videos. Pass this series along to somebody, a friend. Even if I forget about Pastor Dowell and my religious preference and belief, throw all that away and listen to the information that is presented to you and educate yourself and start doing something about it, damn it. Uh-oh, look at him looking.